I think I'm a glutton for punishment. I've come back to Ladywalk. After Friday's visit here, I was absolutely disgusted with myself. The photos I took on Friday were just terrible. Absolute shit. Not one decent photo that I liked. It was supposed to be raining again today, but obviously it's not, because the weather forecasters haven't got a clue, have they? So, quick rush and come over here. As I know the cuckoo's here, that's still the plan. I don't think the cuckoo is at Middleton. Well, I've never heard it there. So I'm gonna have to keep forcing myself to come over here a bit more if I want to nail a photograph of a cuckoo. So that's the plan. And I'm gonna do better than Friday, definitely, because I can't do any worse. Well, change of plan, I think. On Friday, apparently the day I was here, there was a spoonbill here. So the car park's rammed today with bird watchers. And I spoke to a few on the way down that come here regularly, and they said that the cuckoo hangs about at the top by a hide. Explained where, and that he's there quite a lot. So I'm going to camp around there for about an hour. I'm going to miss all the other hides and just kind of hang about for the hope of getting a glimpse or a shot of the cuckoo. That's the plan. So I spent a bit of time in the hide. Seen a couple of firsts. Well, I got a couple of firsts. I got a red shank in flight, which I haven't got before. I spent ages waiting for it to take off, focused on it, waiting for it to take off. Took my eyes off it for a split second. When I looked back, it just started to take off. So I kind of got a little bit of a shot, just the corner of the frame. Hopefully I'll be able to salvage that. And a white wagtail. I'd have thought it was a normal pied wagtail, but there was someone knew what he was talking about in there and said it was a white wagtail. He was 100% sure. So, cuckoo's down here as well. Yeah, I'm chasing that cuckoo, and apparently there's a green woodpecker down here, which again is another bird on my list. So, we're gonna get lucky today. I've got two new ones today. So let's go and find the kingfisher. No, let's go and find green woodpecker and the cuckoo, and yeah, the kingfisher is going to show up as well. If I'd have stuck to my initial plan, which was to go up by the hide and then hang around there for an hour, I would have seen the cuckoo, because the guy said he'd been sitting there where I was going to sit and he's seen it fly around. But no, I have to go out chasing them, don't I? So yeah, I'm a dickhead. So next time I'm going to stick to my plan and force myself to sit my ass down and do what I say I'm going to do. He's taught me a lesson, hasn't he? Oh well, halfway home now. I'm hungry. And I'm bored of not seeing nothing. Well, another crap day here. I don't rate this place, so I keep saying it, but this is the only way I'm going to get a photo of the cuckoo while coming here, so I think I've just got to persevere. I think I've got a few shots today. Whether I've done any better than Thursday, I don't know, but I'm heading back now. I've had enough. Had enough of seeing nothing. There was a hobby flying over, but it was a bit too high. A guy with a scope pointed it out to me, but too high for my lens. I'm going to head back and call it a day. But if there's any more, I'll leave them here. If not, thanks for watching. Hopefully I haven't bored you too much like I did in my previous video. The sound probably won't be as good as in the last video because I've just shot on my phone today. I can't bother to get the camera out. So until next time, thanks for watching.
So as I mentioned before in my previous video, I've also been asked to share some more of my editing, how I edit the photos. So I've just chose this one. I've just chosen it at random really, just to show you what I do. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to crop it. I'll crop it to about there, I think. The whites on the back of the tail look a bit bright, so I'm going to bring the highlight straight down. And then I'm going to mess with the temperature. Like that, and then bring up the exposure just a very little bit, and drop the highlights a little bit more. I'm going to try bring up the shadows, and then drop the highlights even more. We're going to lower the contrast and bring up the whites just a little bit, and lower the blacks just a little bit. At this point I think I'll just increase the texture just a tiny little bit and the clarity a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and edit in Topaz denoise. Now I know I did say in my last video I was going to start using DXL a lot more, which I have been, but for the sake of this image, Topaz will do the same kind of job, and it's a little bit quicker. So although the ISO was 2000, there's not a lot of noise in it, and I just want to see out of the two, out of the low light and the clear, which one kind of sharpens it the nicest without putting like a over sharpening it, if you know what I mean. I'm guessing the low light is going to do better. Yeah, so I'm going to stick with the low light and click apply. Okay, so as soon as that's done that, I'm going to right click again and edit in Photoshop. First thing in Photoshop is to duplicate the layer, and then I'm going up to the image at the top, and I want to see what the auto tone, contrast and auto contrast do, just to see if it's worth using those straight away. Kind of like the auto contrast, but it's too much, so I'm going to bring the opacity down to around 28. And about 20%, 22%, something like that. Then I'm going to flatten the image. I'm going to get rid of some of these little spots that are on the water. Now, I'm actually using the beta version of Photoshop, but it does, you can use the normal version and use the spot removal tool. So increase the size of my brush and then just paint over all these little dots. I think that's all of them. Then I'm going to duplicate the layer and I'm going to do a little bit of dodge and burning. So first of all, his eye. I'm going to dodge the eye to the mid-tones, make the brush just cover the eye. Just paint that on a little bit. Then I'm going to do a bit more dodging, just bring up some of the lighter parts in the feathers. I'm going to lower the exposure now to around 22% again. And just go over some of the lighter parts of the feathers and maybe the beak. And now I'm going to do the opposite and burn in the mid-tones as well. Just brings out a little bit more detail in the darker feathers. I think round about that, and then file, save, and then open that back up in Photoshop, Lightroom, sorry. Once back in Lightroom, then I'm going to have a mess around with the colours a bit more. It's a bit flat, so try bringing the vibrance up, but lowering the blues or the grey or whatever it is. So I think it's like a blue, so I'm going to lower that. And maybe reduce the oranges a little bit. And the yellows. Going to then try bringing the shadows a little bit more, dropping the highlights, and maybe add a little bit of texture and clarity. I don't like this negative space around here, so I'm going to try cropping it in a little bit more. And I think that is it for this photo. It's not a brilliant one, but I'm just kind of showing you my process of editing. I'll show you what it was before. Oh, I don't like this little bit of blue here on his beak. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to open this back up in Photoshop. Once in Photoshop, I'm going to duplicate the layer. And I'm going to create a mask. So I'm going to go up to the object selection tool, draw around the duck, and then right click, and then layer via cut. Making sure I'm on the layer of the duck, I'm going to go down and add an adjustment layer. I'm going to click on the hue and saturation. Using this tool here, finger tool, I'm going to click on the colour that I don't like, and I'm going to see if I can take the blue out of that, kind of there, and then white reveals, black conceals. So that's revealing everything I've said I want altered, but because I only want to alter the beak, I'm going to invert that. So by pressing Ctrl and I, change it to black, it's back to the original, and then using a brush and making sure it's set to white because I want to paint white on the black to reveal. I'm going to paint over the area that I want to change that I've just changed. I think it changed a little, took some of the blue out of these feathers as well, which was I didn't want. And I'm going to flatten that, and I'm just going to burn some of the shadows, I think. So burn, bigger brush, click onto shadows, low exposure, a couple of clicks on some of the shadows. And then save that. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's not really a photo that I think's that good and worth spending much time on. Open that back up in Lightroom. I'm not too keen on the blue behind, so what I want to do is I'm going to use the masking tool, click on background. I'm just going to see if I can kind of just brighten that background up a little bit. A bit of a nicer blue. And that's it. So I'll show you the before and after. So that was the before, and that's the after.